Welcome to Team Referral Network's monthly webinar series, our Brown Bag Lunch and Learn. This is for busy business people, and we hope to share content with you and information that will help you succeed. If it's lunchtime for you, I hope you brought your lunch. If it's a cocktail hour, I hope you're enjoying a glass of wine. Depending on where you are at in this big world of ours, I'm hoping that you're enjoying our time together or listening to this recording. We have a very special program for you today, and the topic is how to convert your referrals to clients. And I know our listeners out there really want to know more about this because it's awesome to receive great referrals from your networking partners and your family, your friends, your associates, the people that you know, build a rapport and relationship with, connect with, and then they send you referrals. But more importantly, how do we take those awesome referrals and convert them to actual business? And there's no better person to talk to us about this than Erik Laughlin. Erik is a master sales trainer who has taught his proven sales systems to thousands of professionals around the world. Wow. He is president and CEO of Erik Laughlin International, Inc., and an organization he founded to professionally train people on the art and science of selling. Erik is the author of a whopping 15 books. He lives in Rocklin, I think it's California, with his wife Heather and his 3 daughters, something we share in common, Erik. I have 3 daughters, 1 bonus, 2 ours. So everybody, would you please welcome Erik Laughlin to our Brown Bag Lunch and Learn webinar. Thanks for being here, Erik. You with us, Erik?
Yep, I'm here.
There you are. Okay, thanks for being here with us today.
I am excited to be here, Kelly. Thank you for the invitation.
That's great. I'm going to go ahead and jump in with our next slide and get us starting. We stop right at 12:15, and I want to make sure that we get all of the information in for our listeners today. So we'll start with the very first element of being intentional. How can we be intentional? How do we start with intention?
Well, let me just start off on, I want to acknowledge all of you for being here. The fact that you're here right now, you know you're capable of more and you're willing to invest time to better your skills. I'm going to be sharing with you today from my 25 years of sales experience. I've been training professionally for the last 20 years. I teach a step-by-step process. And the good news is that there are a number of specific things that you can do to increase your closing ratios to help you become more comfortable and more confident with sales and with asking for the order. And selling is a very intentional style of communication. So if one of us was going to go have lunch with maybe a friend that we hadn't seen in a couple of years, we would go and we talk about, like for me, if Kelly and I were catching up, we talk about the kids and talk about our businesses, and the conversation would go in a lot of different directions. Selling to me, though, it's very different. When I go in and I have a business appointment to sell, I'm going to go in with an outline. I'm going to go in with a plan. I'm going to go in with the result that I want to produce. I'm going to have thought that presentation through in advance, and I'm going to guide that presentation to create the results that I want. What a lot of people do is they wing it. And the reason they wing it, they're uncomfortable with the idea of sales. Let's face it, Kelly, in our culture, there's a stigma to sales. And
there really is out there in the world, definitely.
Yeah, and some people may be a part of your organization because they want the business to come through them with all the incredible referrals. You guys teach your referral system and these wonderful leads come in. And some people might be thinking, well, shoot, I just want the business to come in, but I don't want to have to actually sell it, right? The photographer might say, I just want to shoot the wedding, or I just might want to do the headshot, but I don't want to have to sell the headshot. And when we let go of the uncomfortableness of sales and we understand that selling is about serving, and it's about leading and moving people to action. I was talking to a woman today. She's in the financial services and insurance industry. And she told me that she was talking to her boss, and her boss told her, just make a recommendation for them on what they need and guide them to buy. And she said what she'd been doing was kind of leaving it up to the prospect to decide. And we both were saying, look, you're the expert. So lead and guide them. Become intentional. Come in with a plan. You're the expert. And so part of sales greatness has to do with mindset and our approach to the presentation. And for some of you, there's a saying that there's nothing more powerful than a good idea whose time has come. And there's another quote that when you've all heard this one, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So today's message may be incredibly timely for some of you, and you're going to go, wow, this is really what's been missing for me as far as converting my referrals into clients. And I'm really just excited to share this information that I love sharing with people.
I love it. I just immediately, right from the get-go here, just got some fantastic nuggets from you. The whole mindset of selling is about serving. I think if everybody looked at that and said, put that into their mind as they went out there and did their day, it would entirely shift their focus on what it is that they're doing. I've been to many of your educational formatted, events and gotten much out of it. And I've heard you say this before, but man, this just hit me smack in the middle of the face here. Selling is about serving. And I love the intentional element of this, of going in with the outline, the plan, what are your expected results, prep for that presentation, and then guide the presentation. I think a lot of people not only are winging it out there, but they feel like it is too overwhelming to go in with this kind of plan. And in actuality, I think it takes the overwhelm out of it. I think it has the exact opposite effect, and again, keeps you very focused, don't you think?
It's a game changer. I just had a presentation this morning before this session with you right now. And I went in there, I'm like, all right, I want 10 sales to come from this webinar. I had it wasn't a scripted word for word, but I had my game plan of how I was going to deliver it. I knew exactly how I was going to ask for the order at the end. So it wasn't awkward around the money, because I knew exactly what that conversation looked like. And I went in there and I was just myself, and I was powerful, and I was confident, and I was sharing my message with people. In this particular webinar, there's an interview process. So I didn't get the sales immediately. I'll be doing a series of interviews, and it's going to be very successful because I went in there with a plan. And no matter what you do, you all believe in what you do. That's, you can do anything with your career, and you've chosen to be a chiropractor, you've chosen to be a coach, or you've chosen to be a realtor, you've chosen whatever your field you've chosen, you believe in what you do, and you really owe it to yourself to give yourself the best opportunity to clearly communicate to a potential prospect how you can help them. Now, I don't believe in arm twisting and high pressure. I don't believe in manipulation. I believe in benefit-driven selling, where you clearly communicate the benefits so the other person gets how you can help them. At the end of the day, they decide, but we can do, most people can, a much better job of bringing those benefits to life so the other person understands how you can help them.
Absolutely. And I know a little bit later in this presentation, we're going to be talking a little bit about the benefits. So I'm looking forward to that. I think one of the things too that I want to reiterate just from this first slide here is don't wing it. I do a presentation that talks about their communications, their 1-minute commercials, their 10-minute presentations when they're speaking to their networking partners. And the first thing I say is, stop winging it, because people are constantly winging it. So let's, we need one of those big red circles with a red line through it and saying, and winging it. So don't wing it, right?
And when you do your referral meetings, isn't there a point in your referral meeting when there's an enrollment conversation about people joining your organization?
Yes, absolutely. And we have it actually scripted out for the leadership to be able to convey a clear and concise message.
Yeah, so think about it, what Kelly's done. She's got all these people all over the country, the world, you know, through now helping people with the online space. She's been successful in building. It was intentional. You know, imagine if every single time there was this referral meeting and her people forgot to ask about joining, right? That would be growth. And so we go in with a plan, and that's a value add. When you offer the opportunity to join the group, that's part of the value, and you're serving that person to help them grow their business by being a part of the group. And so, you know, this is how Kelly's built her business. And so we want to go in and be intentional, and it really serves the prospect that you're selling to that you potentially want to become your client.
Definitely. And, you know, one of the reasons, of course, that we have the script in our agenda and we train our leadership on this very important element to the organization, it's because we have a system, which leads us to this next slide. Erik, you talk here about following a system. I'm, of course, as a master franchisor, we're highly systematized. That was one of the things that, you know, you have to have in place in order to be granted the ability to be a franchisor. And so I'm a huge systems person. And I think, of course, the sales process needs to be systematized as well. So share with us about your plan for a system.
Well, one day I was thinking about Southwest Airlines because I regularly fly that airline, and I was thinking about all the, I don't know, hundreds of flights or thousands of flights a day that happen with Southwest. And it's like, how do they keep track of all that? And of course, the obvious answer is they have a system. And so today there's going to be hundreds or thousands of flights that are going to happen, and they're going to go off, you know, pretty much as planned because of their system. They took the time to figure out how to orchestrate all this activity. Well, your sales process is the same. You want to think about, okay, how are the leads going to come in? And then how do I book an appointment with those leads? And then what does the conversation look like in order for those leads to become a client? What you're learning through Kelly and Team Referral is their referral system that produces predictable referrals. And so it's kind of like the ultimate leverage or the ultimate time management strategy to take the time and figure out, okay, lead comes in and then what, and then what, and then what, and then they become a client. And if you'll just take the time to do that, and this is a lot of the work that I'll do with clients, once you have that down, you have it down forever. You never have to go back and learn it.
Right.
So just know that that is a possibility for you. That if you get that down, then you no longer have to wing it. You know, okay, at this point in the presentation, this is when I tell my company story. And at this point, I ask the probing questions. And at this point, I transition into the close. And so you know exactly what to do. And it makes your results very predictable. And so this is just like your systems with the franchise concept or referrals. I look at it through a similar viewpoint with your overall sales process.
That's a beautiful way to look at it too. I love that. You know, it's interesting too, if we look at, let's just take a handful of very successful companies out there. You know, your Fortune 100s, probably a lot of your financial services, New York Life, okay? Let's go even to a different realm, Mary Kay Cosmetics. Let's look at Remax Real Estate. You know, all of these huge companies out there do not wing it. They have a system and they train their sales team on the system, and the expectations is that they will follow the system and then they will get the predictable results from following the system. There isn't any reason why a small print shop or a personal trainer or a dentist can't have the exact same type of powerful system for their sales processes as any one of these big companies do, right?
That's exactly right. And these are proven best practices that anybody can learn. So there really isn't any such thing as, well, I'm not a born salesperson. Well, I'm not either. I mean, I start off as a sales failure, but I learned it. I learned best practices. I learned how to close, how to ask for the order, how to bring the benefits to life, how to ask probing questions. I learned all these things. And then once I learned it, now I have the skill set, just like typing. I learned how to type. I know how to type. So it's kind of like empowering for all of you. Instead of thinking, well, I'm not good at sales, it's not that. It's just I haven't had either the right teacher or I haven't taken the time to learn it. But if you believe that you can learn it, it really shifts your mindset around what's possible.
I agree. So how do we develop a system, Erik?
Well, probably the easiest thing to do is imitate an existing system. So in any industry, there's a set of best practices. So the dentist, there's a set of best practices when it comes to patient acquisition. Mm-hmm. The person in Mary Kay that you mentioned, the real estate agent, the coach. For me as a coach, when I want new coaching clients, I do a speech and I offer a free coaching session. That's a proven best practice. So if you start with best practices and then you just become a student of systems and you just learn from others, and then in some cases you'll develop your own, kind of through trial and error, but a lot of it can be learned from best practices in your industry. And then, we'll get into as much as my system as we can in our time and today. And then I've got some free bonuses for you guys today that you can learn even more if you want to learn beyond today's teaching.
Nice. That is cool. I'll look forward to that. All right. Well, here we are talking about your sales system. Why don't you run down points 1, 2, and 3 for us?
All right. So this is the core of what I teach. Sales model has to do with how many times do you meet with the prospect before you ask them to buy from you. So it might be, I'll use some of my vocabulary, a one-call close. You meet with them, you ask them for the order at the end. Might be a one-call, two-call close. Meet with them a second time, ask them to buy. One-call, two-call, three-call close. We also can look at, are there any email communications as part of the sales process, like a confirmation email? Or is there a survey that you want them to do as part of your sales process? So what you would do is you would document the lead comes in, and then what, 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 and then they buy. So that's what I mean by sales model. Sales mountain refers to the outline of each presentation. So let's say a financial services person, their sales model is a one-call, two-call, three-call close. That means they meet with them and gather information. They meet with them a second time and gather more information. And then they meet with them a third time and they make the recommendation and they ask for the order. So there's an outline to appointment number 1. There's an outline to appointment number 2. And there's an outline to appointment number 3. And in my world, we call that the sales mountain. So if I was coaching a financial services professional, I would teach them that. And then I would say, okay, between now and our next coaching session, give me your outline, what you think it should be for appointment 1, 2, and 3. And then I'll coach them on it. And then we'll agree on it. Okay, this is now your outline. So now they have it. So that essentially is their game plan of what they want those appointments to look like. Probably no different than when you have a referral meeting. Is there like a set of key things that need to be covered in an order so every meeting has like a structure to it? Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we would model that, but we just model it for our sales conversations. And then the sales script. So each outline point, in my world, we call an outline point a component. So if I'm going to ask probing questions, very common thing you do in a sales presentation, the probing questions would be a component. If I'm going to tell my story, very common thing that you would do, that would be a component. Each component is its own mini script. So in a perfect world, we would actually script out that financial services person, appointment number 1, appointment number 2, appointment number 3. Now, in the actual live delivery of it, they might not be word for word. They don't need to be robotic, but they go in with a plan. So just imagine if you knew, number 1, sales model. The lead was going to come in and you knew, okay, and then what do I do with the lead? And then what? And then what? You knew each presentation you were going to deliver, sales mountain. You had an outline for each appointment, and then you had a script. So you were clear in your mind of the language. What that would do for you is it would massively increase your clarity. You would go into the game plan and you would predictably increase your closing ratio. So everything I said, I'm sure all of you that are listening, if you follow along with what I'm saying, you go, Erik, that's logical. It makes sense. I agree with you. Then the question is, well, why isn't everybody doing it? The answer is it's not intuitive. Mm-hmm. Okay? It took me years to figure out those 3 things on the screen, and what I just explained in 7 minutes It took me years to figure that out. Okay. And that's the value of learning from somebody like me who's been in this conversation for 25 years. This is what I do all day, every day. And so now it's not really a shortcut. It's just getting people to the result faster so they know what to do so they can get on with growing their business and they don't have to be in this whole, I don't like sales conversation. I'm not good at sales. I'm not sure what to do. I'm uncomfortable asking for the order. It really has to do with just needing more professional training. And I do this with people that are beginning all the way up to seasoned sales pros. And it pretty much, if they do what I tell them to, it makes them better.
I love that. And I love the simplicity of it, because I think that makes it so much easier to follow is if we keep it simple. Don't you think we're always trying to screw it up by making things too complicated?
It's really true. And I was talking to this financial advisor today, and she was the one that her boss was telling her to lead the person at the end and, make a recommendation, really guide them there. And I was looking at her script because I asked her to do number 3 for me, right? A sales script on her story. And she was giving all this extra detail. Mm-hmm. And I said, all you need to do in your story is to establish your credibility. And she's very credible. She's gotten like highest certifications in financial planning for her niche. She's been doing it for like a couple decades. And I'm like, you're doing like 12 minutes of script and all you need is 3 minutes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So like for me, sales scripting, I was mentored by Dr. Donald Moyne, one of the top script writing experts in the world today. I've been training scripting for 10 years and I wrote Sales Scripting Mastery, one of the most comprehensive books ever written on sales scripting. Okay. That was 29 seconds.
Right.
Establish my credibility. People go, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to sales scripting. And I don't need to go on for 12 minutes. So we want things definitely to be simple, and they don't need to go longer than what it needs to be. And we need to communicate to people like the key things that they want to hear so they don't become bored in our presentation. We want to get right to, we want to tell them what they need to hear so they have a confidence in hiring us or buying from us.
Exactly. And, I think the other thing that we have a tendency to do as entrepreneurs especially is that we're so passionate about our business that we have a tendency to delve way too deep into the details. Just we're wanting to share our passion about it instead of, like you said, just keeping it simple, getting to the point, qualifying yourself, have it scripted out so that it is very succinct and easy for them to understand and they don't get caught up in all the minutia of everything.
That's a huge point. And when you're putting together your presentations, it's very important to think of the presentation from the viewpoint of the person receiving the presentation.
Yes, not your viewpoint of presenting it, but their viewpoint of listening or seeing or hearing it.
Like, you guys can get my passion in my voice. You can get my passion in just my enthusiastic delivery. I don't need to go on and on and on about how much I love sales training and helping people. And quite frankly, you guys don't really care about that. You're like, Erik, give me some nuggets, okay? Give me the goods, okay?
Right.
And so
exactly.
It doesn't mean, convey your passion, but it's about thinking through the presentation through the eyes of the other person. What is the information that's relevant to them when you're telling your story, which is it can be a very persuasive part of your presentation. It's like, why do you do what you do? It can be very valuable. So this woman gives me her script and she's like giving me a resume of then I did this job and then I worked here and then I'm like, nobody cares about that. Just give me your credibility and then let's move on to the next point. And so just really think it through from the other person's viewpoint when you're communicating.
I like it. And with that prompt, we need to be moving on, and we're going to get to some serious nuggets here. So let's talk a little bit about tips on booking appointments.
So the first tip is the benefits of the appointment are different than the benefits of your product and service. So when you're asking somebody for their time, there's a teeter-totter in their mind. So Kelly, if I contact you and I'm like, hey Kelly, can we hop on the phone for 10 minutes? And here's why I'm requesting those 10 minutes. Or can we meet for 30 minutes what's going on in your mind, there's a teeter-totter.
Mm-hmm.
And you're evaluating value, perceived value that you're going to receive versus the time investment. And so we've got to convey what's the benefit to the other person for agreeing to give me their time. And so I want you all to think through the standalone value the prospect receives for agreeing to meet with you. The second tip is, this is the question, Kelly, I've asked people all over the world, whether it's on a webinar like this, a front of the room speech. I say, first statement is, how many of you agree you need to do more prospecting? Almost every hand goes up.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then I go, okay, well, what's the number one reason why people don't do more prospecting? And the answer, you guys can probably all guess, it's fear of rejection.
Yep.
So the way I do it is I pretty much have no fear. Occasionally I might get a little anxious, but I pretty much have no fear. And the reason I do that is I gamify my prospecting. So I might say, all right, I'm going to reach out to 10 people today to grow my business. And the way I win is I reach out to 10 people, and then if they don't respond, or they say no, or they say yes, I still win. Because the game is to do the reach out, and then I get whatever results I get. What that allows me to do, Kelly, is to have the confidence to boldly prospect anybody, and I don't have to be concerned if they say no, because I kind of trick my brain into going, I get a win just for doing the reach out.
Mm-hmm.
So if you gamify your prospecting and then understand the pattern of prospecting, the rhythm of prospecting is you reach out to somebody and they say no, and you reach out to another person and they say no, and then you reach out to another person and they say no. Here's the rhythm. No, 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 yes. No, 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 yes. No's are no big deal. And if you understand that that is the rhythm of prospecting, you don't have to take it personal when it doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And in
Right.
a real world application, so you mentioned that you have a bonus daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and I have 2 bonus daughters. And when I met my wife, so before I met my wife, I wanted to recreate my family because I'm a family man, and I viewed myself, after my first wife and I divorced, I viewed myself as a husband without a wife, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like looking to recreate my family, and my mindset was, okay, I'm going to go out on a date with somebody, and if we hit it off, we'll go out again and again and again, but maybe it doesn't work out. And I didn't cause that to discourage me and go, oh, well, I'm never going to get married again. I'm never going to find the right one. I just looked at it as, I'm going to keep dating until I find the right one.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's exactly what happened. I had no discouragement if it didn't work out. And then eventually I met my wife, and now I've got this amazing wife and these 2 incredible bonus daughters. But it's the same mindset where I didn't have to be like feel rejected if it didn't work out with some woman. It's like, okay, well, then I'm going to go find the right one. Well, we can do that in business.
Yeah, you just put a whole new face on prospecting for dating right now.
See, I'm kind of crazy when it comes to how I view life. Like, my life is through the lens of sales. Okay. So when I was
That's awesome. I love it.
It's like lead generation, right? The appointment setting is drinks and coffee. So,
right. Exactly. I'm looking at you gamifying this and having a blast doing it. You probably put a budget out there for it as well. Okay. Wait, we're going to move on to our next one. Okay. Perfect. Because I want to be timely and make sure we get our audience everything that that you have to offer to them today. So Perfect. Let's talk about building rapport. And if there's anything I left hanging there in appointments, be sure to cover that. But building rapport is one of my favorite topics because it really is about building relationships. And of course, that's, my life's purpose. So share with us here.
Well, it's this simple. No rapport, no sale. So rapport, it's an actual state of harmony. It's a oneness between you and the other person. Or if you're in a group, you could have a group rapport. And so the first thing we want to do when we're live with a prospect is we want to get into rapport with them And it comes back to that word intention. And it's about entering their world and viewing their experience from their perspective. So we each have our own model of the world. On this webinar right now, Kelly, you have what's important to you. I have what's important to me. All the listeners, you have what's important to you. And we all have a different perspective. So obviously you go into a sales presentation, you know what you want. You want them to buy. You want them to become a client. Well, it's about what do they want and entering their world and viewing their experience from their perspective. And when you do that, it's going to create the foundation for a successful relationship and for a successful sale. The other piece that you want to do is you want to really increase presence. Being present with the other person. And right now we're in this crazy world of these smartphones. And so you go to a sporting event and half the people are on their smartphone.
Right.
You're at this awesome event or a concert, right? Or a seminar. I'm teaching this seminar. You got people in the audience. And I don't even tell them, don't do that anymore because it's just, it's just how people are nowadays. So we were kind of like as a culture conditioned to not being present. Mm-hmm. And if, at the starting of a conversation with somebody and you go, so how's it going today? And a lot of times people will say that and they don't really care what the other person says. So it's like, oh, how's it going? And they're like, yeah, it's going okay. And then they go into their sales presentation. But if you really listen, like if you're present, if I say to you, Kelly, how's it going? And I listen and you say, oh, it's fine. But I can tell based on your voice inflection, if I'm really tuned in, it's not fine.
Right.
And then I go, is everything okay? And then all of a sudden you might, if something was going on, that might create an opening for you to share what's really going on. But if you're not present, you won't hear it. So I was on the phone one time with this woman and we had a business call and I asked her how she was doing and she said fine, and I could tell she wasn't fine. And I said, can we just stop the business call for a second? Is everything okay? And she goes, no. And she had a really bad argument with her husband. And so we ended up, instead of having the business call, we talked about that because that immediately became what she needed to share. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the original purpose of the business call. But the only reason I heard that is because I was present. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you can be present and really listen and enter their world, that can transform your communication, which can then lead to better relationships, joint ventures, alliances, sales, people becoming clients, etc.
Referrals. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, exactly. Well, very important part of this whole process is the building rapport, and it's one of my favorites. So thank you. Let's see here. Okay, this is really good. Okay, communicating benefits. And I know I see this every day of the week when I'm out there with our people at Team Referral Network, when I'm out there at networking events, when I go to other places to speak, always confusing features and benefits. People don't really understand what the difference is between features and benefits. And they have a tendency to give the laundry list and delve deep into the features rather than selling the feeling, the benefits that come along with it. Do you see that too?
I do see that. And it also is to really understand what's causing the influence. Mm. So there's a concept called a hinge point. And if you go back to the people that have bought from you and you interview them and you say, hey, thank you for being one of my clients. And I want you to think back the day that you bought from me. What was the main reason why you bought? What's the main reason why you joined Team Referral? What's the main reason why fill in the blank? Mm-hmm. And they're going to tell you what that is. And that likely is the hinge point of what caused them to buy. The more you can get in touch with what is actually causing the influence, the greater success you're going to have. And I'm going to give you two specific golden nuggets here. And the first one is you can bring benefits to life through a success story. So one of my target audiences is professional speakers. And I work with all different types of people, network marketers, coaches, I work with consultants, realtors, and I work with speakers. So if I was getting ready to deliver a sales presentation to a speaker, I would want to review a couple of stories of other speakers that I helped. And I would say, let me share with you a quick story about one of my clients, for example, RV Robinson. And when I met RV, she was making about $4,000 a month. And now she regularly makes $15,000 to $20,000 a month with her speaker trainer business. And as a result of that, she was able to become debt-free and a homeowner. And so when I'm communicating that, the other person can think, I want to get results like RV. And they relate to it because perhaps they're a speaker like RV. So if you can script out success stories and communicate those stories strategically in your presentation. So back to your game plan. Remember, Sales Mountain is the outline. So you would insert into, okay, at this point, in this case, I would say, I'm going to tell the RV Robinson story. So telling success stories rather, is a huge way to bring benefits to life. And then one of the main reasons why people buy some products is you get the prospect connected to the consequences of not taking action. So I might say to somebody, do you have a sales script? And they might go, nope, I've never put a sales script together. And I might say, all right, well, I want you to imagine you have a powerful, well thought out sales script so you can go in and confidently deliver your presentation for the rest of your career. Wouldn't that feel great? And they go, yes. All right, well, imagine you don't do that. What will that likely cost you? And I take them on this journey in their mind. And they're like, oh my gosh, I have a 10-year career left and I'll be winging it for the next 10 years. And that ends up being the motivator to get them to take action. It's called the consequences of not taking action. This is especially powerful in health and wellness. Any of you that are in the health and wellness industry and you're making a recommendation to somebody to take supplements or to exercise or to drink protein shake or whatever you're up to, get them to imagine taking the product and the likely benefits. Get them to imagine not taking it and the likely consequences, and that will help increase your close ratio.
I like that. People are far more motivated oftentimes by fear than by gain.
Yeah, it's the old Tony Robbins, what are the two things that motivate people? Gaining pleasure and avoiding pain. And so avoiding pain, it's like another simple way of saying it is carrot and the stick, right? So the stick is oftentimes more motivating than the carrot, and both are valuable. So the key is ask yourself, what are the consequences to my prospect if they don't do what I'm recommending? And let them know that in a way that they can really get what you're teaching them.
I like that. Excellent. All right, let's move on to, this is probably one of the most difficult topics right here, right? Because people could be really great at presenting their information, scripting it out, having all the components in place. They're great at building rapport. They're great at communicating the benefits. They don't have any problem picking up the phone and, getting turned down. They love it. And then they book the appointment and they do all of this. And they get to the point where they've done a phenomenal job and then bam, the sale doesn't happen. And why doesn't that sale happen? Yeah.
So here's how simple it is. I'm just going to go straight to the solution versus we can talk about the problem, but let me just give you guys the solution. It's this simple. You're going to script out your close and you're going to do it there's 3 pieces to a close. There's the transition into the close, the body of the close, and the final close. And you might have to go back and listen to this a couple of times to really get what I'm teaching you here. The transition into the close is a statement like this. What I'd like to do now is share with you how I work with clients like yourself. That's a transition statement, letting the prospect know, okay, the body of the sales presentation is done. Now we're going to talk about doing business. So what I'd like to do now is share with you how I work with clients like yourself. That's a transition statement. The body of the close is where you explain the offer. So this is the investment. This is what's included. These are the method of payments that we take. These are the payment terms. This is the guarantee or the warranty. These are the bonuses. Like, you're explaining whatever it is that you're offering. And then the final close is the ask. And when you're selling one-on-one, this is the way I do it. You have to ask. If you get to the end and you don't say, so are you ready to move forward, or something similar, it's unlikely that they're going to come to you and say, so how is it that I buy from you? Like,
right. Right.
It's kind of like this. I said to my wife before we got married, I proposed to her. I got down on one knee, like kind of the traditional way to do it. Will you marry me? Well, let's say I never did that, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
We probably wouldn't be married.
Right.
Right. And her girlfriends would be like, so you've been with this guy for all these years. Aren't you guys going to get married? And she's like, I don't know. He won't ask me. So we've got to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And a no's fine. No's are no big deal. So it's transition to the close, the body, the close, the final close. You script all that out. And then what you do is you practice it like the lines in a play. And you get the wording down. Sometimes people are uncomfortable asking for the order because they don't have the wording down. So it gets all awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how easy it is. You get the end of your presentation, you practice and you got the wording down. You go through the wording, you get to the end and you say, how do you feel about moving forward? Or are you ready to get started? But you're clear on what you're going to say. And the very first time you do it and you do this methodology, you might be uncomfortable. But after you've done it 10 times, you're like, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
It's no big deal. For a chiropractor, a dentist, a coach, fill in the blank industry, it does not matter. It's no big deal when you follow this methodology. I've taught this to people all over the world, all different types of industries. And so it's kind of one of these things where if you're listening to me right now and you have any anxiety around this process, you've got to fix it, because the consequences of you not fixing it is you're going to be awkwardly asking unnecessarily for the rest of your life. So let's just fix it. And I'm going to give you some free stuff at the end of our call today. I can do it, or, you can find a sales coach and team referral, or you can find, there's different people out there in the world that do what I do. Find somebody that you resonate with and just fix the problem.
Right? Just fix it, which is perfectly leading us into these next steps here. We're getting close to the point of needing to wrap up. And so, Erik, what do you have to offer our audience today? You're very generous in what it is that you're offering today. I'm excited to hear about it and share it with everybody.
Yeah, so what we've gone through today, I've documented all this in a 200+ page book called The System. And it's my life's work. It's everything I taught you today, but much more in depth. And I want to get you a PDF copy of that book into your hands. And all you have to do is just text me. That's my personal cell phone. You're going to text me or email me and just say that you're on the team referral class with Kelly and I, and that you'd like a copy of the book. You can buy it on Amazon, or I can just give you the PDF for free. The second thing you can do is, one of my coaches that works for me, her name is Cheryl. And she's just the nicest woman, and she's got a heart of gold. And if you would like to have a conversation with her, she knows my sales methodology, and she'll spend a half an hour with you, no cost, no obligation. She'll just be sweet as can be and answer your questions and really help you. So if you like some one-on-one time with one of my coaches, she's super sweet. Just say that you like the free coaching session. And then lastly, there may be one or two of you that are like, Erik, I already know I want to work with you. So my entry-level course is on my website. It's on special right now for $299. And what I want to do is I want to give all of you in Team Referral a one-time offer of $99. So that's not available on my website. We never offered it $99. You can always get it in the future on our special of $299. But I'm not going to go into all the bells and whistles on it. Just if you're interested, you can text or email me. I'm happy to explain to you the bells and whistles. I don't want to take up our time explaining the bells and whistles. But if you happen to be like, I know I want to work further with you, that's a great introductory offer. If maybe there's one or two of you that's interested in that. So those are the free offers, and just text me, call me, or email me if you like any or all of those.
I love it, Erik. Thank you so much. This was really a great presentation today. Very valuable for our audience. I just quickly going to summarize intention. Selling is serving. Don't wing it. Get systematized on your sales program. Script your components in your sales system. Gamify your prospecting for booking appointments, being present while building rapport. Use case studies and talk about the consequences of not taking action when you are communicating the benefits, and script your close. Erik, that was awesome. Thank you so very much for being with us today. Our next Brown Bag Lunch and Learn is going to be how to get results from the events you attend, especially events like our annual team's big event. Erik, thanks so much for being with us. Anybody wants more information, they can go to eriklaughlin.com or the various ways you gave them to connect with you. And any more information about Team Referral Network, you can go to teamreferralnetwork.com. Thanks so much, Erik.
Thanks, Kelly.